because the thoughts that you're having are only based on your past. They're going to try and predict the future, but it's only based on the past. So we're living in that kind of narrative. It doesn't have to be that way.
Welcome, Rebecca. So
Hi.
lovely to have you here in an inflow conversation. You crossed my mind. I've been having so many conversations about human design and mental projectors, and I met you through the Projector movement. Shout out to the Projector movement.
Absolutely.
And you were one of my human design teachers with the Living Your Design courses that you teach, which was absolutely amazing. And I think that was 2 summers ago. And before that, you had given me a couple of personal readings early days when I was figuring out what is a mental projector. And you are a mental projector, so I'm so excited for us to just chat and talk.
And I love that you came to human design as a mental projector, and then you came to me, and I like it when mental projectors do that because there's so much like disempowering things out there. So for you to find out you're a mental projector and then get some empowering stuff
Yes.
for the rest of your journey, that must have made a big difference.
Huge, because I don't think I got too in the weeds on, like, I was kind of like, what? There's different types of projectors, and then I immediately found you. So I'm so grateful for that. And yeah, I'm just so grateful to have found you in early days, to have those readings and have somebody who's sort of definitely understands. You're very, very masterful at what you do and reading charts for people. And then you did a chart reading for Tim and I, and
that was fun.
That was very fun. We watched that recording back a few times, and it was just hilarious. Like, Tim was crying and laughing, and it was just amazing. And before we get too into it, for anybody who's watching this, we're going to use human design language for sure, because we're talking to Rebecca, who,
I don't even realize I'm doing it anymore.
You're a specialist in it. It's who you are, and so appreciate the wisdom. But I believe we'll touch on things that are outside human design as well. So anyone's welcome. You don't have to know the language. Yeah. Although, what would you say to somebody who's totally new to human design? Why would they maybe benefit from understanding just some basics of like what their type is and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think human design is a really cool modality tool that can help you scaffold your understanding of yourself. And at the beginning of your human design journey, you can scaffold your understanding. And then as you go further into it, you take that away. So it can help you understand yourself better. And it's all about this experiment in life. So it's not necessarily a rule book, but it's saying, have you looked here? Have you looked here? Do you understand your mind? Do you understand what you're here to live? And it can help people kind of feel more themselves. For myself, it made me feel more confident throughout time. That's the kind of main reason I think people can come to it, so it can have a really lovely effect. And that's why I've stayed in human design, not because I'm trying to like preach the modality. If anything, it's the opposite. I've seen such remarkable changes in people's lives just by using the frameworks that are there. Take what resonates, leave the rest. And that's the most important thing, I think.
Totally. Yeah, and for me, especially for projectors, because I love what Ra says, the creator of the human design, we're diseased with this homogenization.
Wow.
I don't know if it was the word diseased. I'm trying to remember what the word was, but it was something like we're addicted, or it was, you know how he uses some harsh, his words can
very
really,
impactful.
Very like, whoa, homogenization. And it's like, okay, but we're all so different. And for me, just knowing, oh my God, I'm a projector, like that makes so much sense about my life. And then especially when you learn your relationships, who they are and how different they are and how you communicate differently. It's this.
Yeah, it's like we're all trying to be like the perfect human being, because we look at society and we see they're really good at social media, I should be good at social media, or they're really good at marathons, I should be good at marathons. And you start to figure out, okay, some things work for me, some things don't. But I think human design puts language to that and actually says, well, if it doesn't work for you, like marathon running or, don't know, juice fasts, and for some people it will, some people it won't, there's maybe a reason behind it, and it gives you permission to not have to be that homogenized, perfect human being, because no one is, you know? Live in your lane. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful. Yeah, and we're such in a time right now where it's so important, I feel, for people to understand their individuation
Yeah.
and to really like nail that and know what your lane is when a lot of the old scaffolding of how we thought the world was going to be is coming down.
Yeah, there's like more self-reliance, right? It's
Yeah.
like before there were way more kind of systems and tribal nature, and I'm in the city of London, but yet there's so many people, but it's becoming more individuated. We know this, it's not groundbreaking news, but where it's becoming more individuated, you have to trust yourself more. And that means kind of more responsibility to make the right decisions for you. And it's difficult sometimes. No one taught us that.
Right. Yeah. You've been doing the human design for a long time. How many years has it been now for you?
5 years.
Five,
Yeah,
5 years.
especially professionally. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you feel is less true today than when you first started kind of getting into it?
Ooh, what in general in the world or within the system?
Within the system or the world, because I think the system sort of opens our mind up to seeing the world differently. I mean, we sort of touched on homogenization as one of those things, but is there anything within the system maybe that you thought
I
about when you
think
first got in?
I don't know. I think from my personal experience, I know when I first came into human design, it was very kind of generalized information. I think we're realizing more and more that it's more specific. I think with
Mm,
AI and tech like that, people are trying to run their charts that way as well. And I think we're trying to understand ourselves through the lens of human design to the specific. So it's quite nice that people are journeying into that part.
mm,
Um, and I think through my understanding of the human design lens as well, looking especially into like projectors, understanding that there are such vast differences between even the different types of projectors. That's been a
mm,
huge thing. And my own kind of experimentation with the human design knowledge to go, okay, what are the key markers for someone that runs marathons or that lives certain ways of living? And understanding that's been really interesting because it wasn't
mm.
necessarily taught to me in that way, but it's
Right.
unfolded in that way. Does that answer
Hmm.
it?
Yeah, and I think because I watched a little bit of you when you recently there was that projector empowerment where all
Wow.
the projectors got together and shared their little genius, and like I think I can see that too when I got into human design. I didn't even know there were different types of projectors. It's
Yeah.
just one thing, and so for you having spent so many times reading like thousands of charts for people, probably a lot of projectors,
Yeah.
you would get to have that lived experiences of the nuances and start to see those patterns.
Yeah, it started with
And
like the one-on-ones and then it went into these like subtype groups and I was like really feeling into that little frequency and that was
mm,
cool. And then using those groups as a way of asking questions and it was interesting to see that only emotional projectors would say this and only mental projectors would ask this type of thing. And I was like there are more correlations here and yeah, then we realize.
hmm.
Yeah.
I could probably listen to you speak about the different types all the time, and I was like, I don't want to make it too human design, but
Yeah, yeah.
I, if you wanted to share like just a little bit about like a sentence or two about each one.
Yeah. So I think the main thing that we hear is like projectors are here to guide, and
Mm,
the 5 different types of projectors through the lens of authority guide so completely differently. So
mm,
our both of us we're mental projectors, and there's nothing in our body that's defined. It's all outer. So for us, there is nothing getting in the way of how we're seeing people unless our mind is getting in the way. So we can be really, really intuitive people guides. There's an environment guides. We're just alert systems to people. Whereas emotional projectors really guide through their depth because of that
mm,
emotional authority. The longer that they give it, the more deep their awareness is. And that's something we can't do as mental projectors. There isn't that really. Splenic projectors are more instinctive and alert. They're really, really alert to the health and well-being of society and themselves and their families. Ego projected projectors are here to guide us through like desires, as in my heart is in this or it's not. And I find my biggest lesson from ego projected projectors was the element of performance. When we're
mm,
not in alignment, we are really performing, and they kind of really encapsulate that. So there's some really lovely learnings from them. And self-projected projectors, the final type that we haven't spoken about yet, they're really guiding us through the like personal empowerment, as in the
mm,
personal inspiration, the personal self expression. And I do love a self-projector projector. It's beautiful. I think they work really well with mental projectors.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I was going to ask for you as a mental projector, when you feel like you're in alignment and not, speaking from the mind, and
Yeah.
you've done obviously a lot of years deconditioning, what does it feel like in your body when you're living aligned versus when you maybe slip into what human design would say the not self?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's going to slip into not self at some point, and there's no way of getting out of that. It's not a bad thing.
No.
It's like that in a pendulum, right? You swing between both sides, true self, not self, and find your balance. But I think through deconditioning, like through becoming aware of how your mind is talking to you, you're really a connoisseur to what's going on around you. So you notice the little shifts off, and you start automatically having new strategies to deal with that. So where before maybe I was feeling pressure and acting on it, I'd feel pressure now and be a connoisseur to that and be like, that's not mine. And then I step back. So that's been really helpful on my journey. And I think as a mental projector, we talk about gut instinct, and mental projectors don't really have that. Most people don't have gut instinct, really. But as mental projectors, because of our openness within our body, our gut instinct is the body, as in we can sense it and feel it. I mean, do you experience that as well? I imagine through your deconditioning, you're probably a connoisseur to the energies around you.
Yeah, I remember when I first learned about the projector thing, I was like, okay, I've done my whole life wrong up until this point.
No,
Like,
we cannot say that.
not really, but it felt like that in the moment. Like, it just felt like I was doing the push. I was making decisions. Like, I almost prided myself on being able to make quick decisions. Like, just like I can be decisive and impulsive, and like that's the way to be, and so that's what I mean. I of course I can see where I was, still my gifts were being activated, but didn't know how to really honor them, and so when I learned about being a projector, and I realized my body had been speaking to me all this time, and I was in such like a burnout space, I was like, I'm listening to my body, like, I hear you, I'm resting. And, speaking about Tim, you've done readings with, and the co-founder at Flow Network, him coming in as that older male, like push energy. And I remember telling him like, okay, I believe we can do business together, but my body will not let me go to market in that way, which was like this kind of push energy. He's like, your body won't let you. He's like, don't think I've ever heard anybody say that one before. So yeah, I definitely get the same thing with the pressure, and or just even different like tweaks. Okay, my shoulder's talking to me. What are you saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, like, because I love the mental projector is also, they've been called the environmental projector.
Yeah.
Meaning like we are our environment and the people. So how much do you think is actually us? Or like, what is your sense with all of that?
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, we are consistently us. So the bits that are consistent through our whole life are us. Like our perspective, the way our mind works, the way that we're speaking, that's kind of fixed. But the rest of it is a lot of just soaking it in. And I think environments are fascinating because it's like, is an environment the people, or are people the environment? I think they shape one another. So when I say mental projectors are here to like alert us to people and the environment, it's like one and the same thing. We're tuning into that energy. So I think we're a combination. I think that's why it's so important for us to be in the right place with the right people. And if it doesn't feel right, to shift it as best we can, even if it's just spending more time in a library or a coffee shop or wherever feels best for you. Because we are just soaking everything in completely.
Yeah, completely. And like I heard also, or just tuning into my own life, because we are soaking it in everything, and it's like what is first, the environment, us, and at the same time we're sort of awakening to this idea that we're all one, like we're all connected, and then trying to understand like, okay, we're all individual, and we, like we said in the beginning, we have these individuated puzzle pieces and lanes to this whole collective that we are. And so as a projector, I think Charlie talks about this a lot in the projector movement, like we are projecting, like what we project onto others or into our environment is literally in a way like creating it, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, whenever we when we're soaking things in and as we're putting stuff back out there, we're kind of co-creating the things that we are involved within, I would say, for sure. So I could agree with that.
And I guess in a way, like every human is really doing that in some sense. But it's just, I guess maybe mental projectors have to figure that out earlier on or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the figuring out bit's interesting because, like you, I resonate with the kind of when I first came to human design, I was like trying to force like podcasts, and like I was really burnt out with this at the beginning. And I think as you start going on your human design journey, you start realizing there's less push, and for projectors, there is this collaboration that's needed. There is this co-creation, and you get your invitations from outside of yourself. And I think that could be really interesting to kind of figure out what you're here to be doing and where you're going, and sensing into place and people, and not having to figure it out, but to let the world show you where you need to be going is part of that as well.
Yes, absolutely. How have you found that journey of like trusting that, things are just kind of showing up and...
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky, right? Because you get to human design, and if you take it super literally, you're told to do nothing. And like, that's scary because we've been told that we need to do stuff in life to make things happen. I was lucky in the sense that I was in a position where I could go completely like radical with the experiment. That's the word. I haven't used that in a while, but I got quite radical with it. And at the time I was figuring out what job to be doing and things like that. And as soon as I came into human design, I stopped applying for jobs. There was like 100 applications, but I just stopped applying. But it was within a couple of weeks where I ended up getting more job offers than I'd ever got before. And I was like, but I haven't been applying for them. And they'd come through like a mutual connection or whatever it was. And then within the year of knowing about human design and really stepping back and being like, what is going to happen? And just, I'm a 1-3 profile, which means that I'm an experimenter. I just allow life to kind of show me what it does. And within that year, got invitations to do human design, got an invitation to move to a different country, and everything started to kind of just happen without pushing it to happen. If anything, now it's like really weird to me to push something. It feels really alien, and I'm trying to do some experiments in pushing things a little bit more because this is part of that process. But I've been so far out of trying to make something happen. So now it's not an element, it's not really a question of, for me, trusting or not trusting it. It's kind of just happened. It's kind of doing it itself. It's showing you.
Life is showing you that you can.
Yeah.
I think that's a great message. Like if there are, I know I have a couple projectors in my mind right now who are, stepping out of that push and then just like, what? Can I just wait? Like, is that allowed? And am I going to be okay? And so you probably have a lot of stories having worked with, thousands of projectors of like, do you see that pattern happening where they kind of get this window and then...
Yeah, all the time. I find the most block projectors come to me right at the beginning of their journey, or they've had a reading before but it wasn't deep enough. They'll come to me and we'll speak through the mechanics, and we'll realise that the mind has been running the show, which is how we live in society, and they've taken on so much responsibility or so many things in their own life because their mind has said it's important, but they're bitter and they're burnt out. So actually the first step for projectors, when we say step back, it's actually just getting rid of the things that you were never invited to do in the first place. You were never invited to give your advice there. You were never invited to look after that person. You were never invited to take that job or whatever it was. And they've got, projectors are very intuitive. So we've got these things bubbling into us, like, I really want to be doing this job or whatever it is. I just know it's part of me. But once we start clearing that out and we start allowing new things to come in, it starts aligning pretty quickly for projectors. But we've just accepted so many things because we thought we had to out of obligation or whatever it is. So things rush in their own time.
Yes. Yeah, this is a circling around this conversation that I'm starting to have on this platform. Actually, we have a roundtable coming up discussing like the rise of yin, the balance of like yin coming on for everyone, not just for women, but the rise of yin in business and in leadership. And so that's bringing this conversation of not forcing, not just for projectors, but for all humans to embrace that more of the flow versus the push and the surrender. And I'm just curious, like through your lens as a mental projector, how do you see that playing out in the world?
Yeah, I think there's been an analogy that's come up recently quite a lot I speak to Charlie about this as well at the Projector movement. We were speaking about this analogy, and it will apply to everyone. I find projectors are the ones that are really pushing. So this is why it's coming up for the conversation of projectors, but it will apply to everyone, which is this analogy of like a jazz band. And we're all musical instruments in the dance of life or whatever it's going to be. We're all playing in the band. But if you are pushing and if you're trying to find it or whatever, you are playing your instrument at the wrong time sometimes. So your advice isn't heard, or the business that you want to start is really frictious and just falls through. So it is, we've got that dance of life, but you can also use the analogy of the jazz band of life. So you're your instrument, but you've got to kind of read the room about when the timing is to step into the middle and play your kind of piece of that, and you have to kind of feel into the rhythm of the space. That I like that element of jazz where it's not planned. It's kind of, you're playing together. You have to read each other. You have to know the musicians. You have to know the other instruments. And it's a little bit like that with humans. And I like the idea of the kind of yin elements coming in a bit more, because it is that flowing. It is being able to see it, as well as the right arrows that are coming in a bit more, the receptive nature. So flowing creativity, more kind of feminine, this kind of energy is also showing up through human design.
Yeah, it's like, it's kind of what we're talking about was as an environmental projector, is like being able to read the room and listen to your place. Like, where am I? Yeah, just opening up to that receptivity of listening.
Yeah.
I love the jazz band.
Yeah, and it's not losing, and it's just a random thought actually. Like, it's not losing yourself, as in, I think some people think they'll come to human design, they hear this, wait for the invitation or whatever their strategy is, and I'm going to lose myself. But actually, imagine losing yourself in the music, like losing yourself in the music of that jazz band. And you're so integrated into the flow, and you're so integrated into the creativity. That's a kind of a better spin on, well, I'm not going to find myself. No, you're going to lose yourself in the most creative and beautiful way. Never said that before. Yeah,
I love that. It's like, lose yourself in the music.
Yes.
And I think that's like, I'm just riffing with you too now here, is like when we were conditioned in the homogenized way, we felt individual and we felt sort of separate, like we didn't belong. I think a lot of us, I know most people I talk to, felt like I don't fit into the world, because we were trying to fit into this box, and like, you play this instrument and you only do it this way, and don't move your body too much. And
here's the sheet music.
Here's the sheet music.
You can't go off.
Yeah, you can't go off of it. And I know you don't like this song anyway, but you have to play it. And
yes, exactly. You don't like the song, but you have to play it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And now we're starting to realize, and that was like in the tribal, because with the human design, the cross of, we talk a lot about it, the cross of, or the planning, which we're moving away from, and we're at this window where we're moving into the sleeping phoenix, which is more of that individuation, and moving from the tribal energy, like that you said in the beginning of the call, where it's like, we have to belong to the tribe. So you better play, we're all playing the song, we don't like it that much, but that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, it's interesting, because the individual in human design is like scared of being killed by the tribe. It's like, I can't be too individual. But as this energy is coming in more and more, it's like, I can't not be individual. Like, I have to be. And the tribe, there isn't one anymore. Like, it's changing, and we're in that straddling period where we're trying to figure out what's going on.
Exactly. And it's such a beautiful point to make, because it's like, how many people are willing to say that? Like, we're all in this place of like, we are straddling worlds, literally. And for anyone who hasn't heard of the 2027 shift, definitely go Google it, because the tribal energy that we've been living in for the last like 400 years, right? Is moving into this, is more of an individual. But I think at the same time, with all of the supportive energy of the astrology, it's very community based as well.
Yeah, I think people are going to be searching for the communities, because yes, we've been under that community based channel, and now we're in the individuated, which is really busy for self. So now people are like, well, we're not going to lose that tribal connection, because we were born under that. We've grown up with it. We're going to have that as nostalgia. We're going to have that as something we need. So even as the energy shifts and moves, we've got our generation. And when I say our generation, I mean anyone born pre-2027. It's not a small 10 decade, 5 years or whatever it is, period. It's like all of us born before 2027 are in this generation, like, of that energy. So we're all going to be wanting to find some element to hold on to. We're going to be
Mm.
wanting to find our community. So yeah, these little groups, the run clubs that are starting, it's like, who can I cling to? Anyone. Like
Mm.
these groups are showing up and that's part of it.
Yeah. I get it's interesting, right? As like maybe the bridging generation. It's like, okay, community is still important.
Yeah.
It's not tribal in the sense of like you're just a cog in the wheel sort of thing, but it's
It's
like
choice.
it's choice. It's the chosen family or like the fractal family.
Yeah,
And maybe it's the choiceless choice in some senses.
exactly.
Because it's like our design is just attracting us to one another
Hmm.
and surrendering to that, and also yeah, letting go of the mind. Because I mean, I never thought that I would be, partnering with a business partner who's 25 years older, and his wife has got cancer, and then they become my family, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to start a business, but
Yeah.
it's like the mind was just, what is going on? And I think maybe a lot of people are going to be in a cauldron of that. We made a video earlier about being like in a rock and hard place where your
Hmm.
mind is like, what is happening? And your body is trying to tell you something different.
Yeah.
Do you remember having that kind of a period like that in your
Yeah.
life?
And it's okay for your mind to be kind of screaming. I don't think the mind stops screaming. It's like, what the hell is going on? And I don't think it stops. But there was a pivotal moment I remember on my journey when I was like, part of the deconditioning process is to listen to the mind as a separate entity rather than it driving the car to being the passenger looking out the window and waving, oh, look, sheep, this type of thing. Like, that's cool
Yeah.
rather than driving. And I remember this pivotal moment on my journey where there was a decision I had to make. And instead of the mind going, I'm going to make this decision, it went, well, what are you going to do? Because you're not going to listen to me. And it was like this really sassy voice moment. And that was the moment I was like, something has shifted. And that was, I don't know, maybe a year and a half into my experiment of human design. And that was quite cool because it was still going, what the hell are we doing? But it was like, well, you're not going to listen to me. Oh, it made me giggle in that really stressful
Yeah.
moment.
I think it's such a brilliant thing to say that, like about the mind and just being able to listen to it. And I think of this one story that I had when I was living in Toronto, and I got a SUP board, a stand-up paddle board.
Yeah.
And I was so excited about it and to be on the water for the sunrise. And the first morning I'm driving there with it and I get out, I'm like, this is stupid. You're going to hate it. The board's going to, my mind is just, the board's going to break. It's going to sink. Like, what are you doing? And I'm pumping it up and I'm just like listening to my mind do its thing. And yeah, I think that's such an important point to make, is just be friends with the mind, listen to it. And
Yeah.
yeah.
It's coming along for the ride. It has a seat in the car, but it doesn't drive the car. So we have to be really careful because there are some things that are really, really in alignment with you, but fear can stop us from doing things, or that voice and the mind. I've got a lovely coach who uses this phrase of the mind's a thought machine. It's just designed to create thoughts again and again and again, but you get to select which ones hold meaning. You get to select which ones you need to listen to. Some are important, but some are absolutely not. Because the thoughts that you're having are only based on your past. They're going to try and predict the future, but it's only based on the past. So we're living in that kind of narrative. It doesn't have to be that way. So to create something new that we haven't seen before, that's why I kind of like the human design information, which is like, take your mind out of it. Here's a tool that you can use that doesn't know what's happening, but it's connecting you to something that you can't even connect to with your mind. Especially as a mental projector, to be told you can trust your mind, but you can't. It's quite an interesting concept.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely something to navigate and and sort of unwind some things, and yeah, it's definitely an interesting journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going to this mental projector and what you know about being a mental projector today, this is another one of my human design questions. What would you de-emphasize about something that's commonly taught? For anybody who's like new, like maybe they're going to look up at their chart today and find out they're a mental projector.
Oh my gosh, there are so many things. I've heard all kinds of things. Like I remember someone saying to someone, "What have you done in a past life to deserve to be a mental projector?" There are really harsh
Wow.
phrases, and like the idea that you are sensitive. We are sensitive, but so sensitive in like a bad way. Or there are so many things, and I just think if you're a mental projector, you find out you're a mental projector and you hear anything disempowering, just question it. Just become really, really curious, because it's probably said by someone that doesn't understand what a mental projector is. And unless someone has specialized in it or has done research into it, they aren't going to have the most empowering advice or clues about how to use your authority and things like that. So there are gazillions, like genuinely gazillions of things that are just not helpful for a mental projector. But just to know that you've got an amazing mind. There are 3 different types of mental projectors. This is how. Oh yes.
Okay.
You're like, what?
Please, 3 different types. I know that depends on where it's defined, right? So
that's exactly it. So a mental projector that has the mind defined to the throat is very different than a mental projector that doesn't have the throat defined and only the head and the ajna, because I mean, there's a much slower processing time, interestingly. It's still quick, but it's slower compared to the ajna to the throat. And the strategy of soundboarding has been very different, because people that don't have consistent access to the throat aren't going to be able to speak about it all the time. Whereas ajna throats have the pressure and they can. So a lot more journaling, a lot more kind of meditation. Whereas for myself, I find it very hard personally to meditate. I can, but it doesn't make me any clearer as much as speaking out loud. Whereas someone with the head and the mind tends to get a little bit more clarity from that. So that's interesting. So there's all these nuances that people don't speak about because they don't understand mental projectors, because we are rare, 1 to 2% of the population. So
wow.
Yes, lots of nuanced information.
And I know that Raab says, like, because Raab was a manifester himself, right? So he was sharing information about projectors just through his
through his lens.
Through his lens.
Yeah.
What do you think some of the have you kind of dove into some of those misinterpretations maybe that people hear when they listen?
Not to the extent of like pulling up his papers and scoring it and things like that.
No, yeah.
But in the sense that, yes, I mean, he's a manifester. He's imagining what it's like to be completely non-energy. I mean, some projectors are energy projectors. But he's imagining what it's like. And I mean, it's quite accurate for sure in terms of, especially I think he's really good at understanding the not self mind and painting that picture. Is he so good at knowing how a projector operates? Kind of, but I think he's very good at waking people up, and that's kind of where he's really good at that. So very good at understanding that projectors have this necessity and like need and drive within them to be guides. And we have to get that balance between that flow of invitations or not kind of thing. I think understanding the nuances of invitations, I think, has been only through meeting more projectors and seeing actually an experiment. I don't think it was as clear within even reading Raab resources or listening to him. So that was an interesting thing. The invitation is not spoken about enough in the nuances, because I think you listen to Raab and you think you do nothing, and it's just not true to that extent. And I think that's one of the main things. I think that's when I was listening to him, I stopped doing everything, which is okay to do as an experiment, but I think there are more nuances than he explains in the stuff that he says. Invitations are a big one.
Can you think of any like examples maybe in your life or people you've done readings for that might empower anybody who's a projector listening to give them ideas about, like, it's waiting for invitation, and just kind of explain some of those nuances
about the invitation? Yeah. So with the invitation, I always like reframe the wait to be make the mind wait, not make your body wait, not wait for permission to live your life. And we're not waiting for like all invitations for everything. The easiest way that I've distinguished wording, what do we need to wait for invitations about, is whether it involves someone else or not. So if it just involves yourself, if you've got your own money, your own time, your own resources, your own energy, you don't need permission to go for a swim. You don't need permission to do art. You don't need permission to read the book that you're inspired to read. So I think there is this element of needing to action your inspirations, following what your curiosities are. Otherwise, we fall into a very kind of dangerous territory of not being inspired and not listening to ourselves and self-abandoning. However, we do need invitations for interactions with people, and strategy primarily refers to the interaction between two auras. So that makes sense to me. So if it involves your partner, your friend, your family member, or a new connection or a job, that's where we need to wait for those invitations, because we just want to take the guesswork out of whether they're ready for us or if they even are receptive to us. So it's an empowering thing because we don't waste energy on, are they hearing us? Are they not hearing us? But we're not disempowered in waiting for permission to live our life. We need to follow that. And that's actually where invitations come from. I speak about that. I think I've spoken to you before about the levels of energy and things like that. Have I
Oh,
spoken to you?
the book?
Yeah. How,
Yes.
yeah, when we're operating, they call it level 500, which is when you're resonating in this creativity and curiosity and joy, and you're being curious and you're following your inspirations, you get seen as a guide. Whereas most of us are plodding at like a 190, this vibration of we're just going to do life. We're going to carry on. We're going to plod through. So when I say like step back as a projector, you don't need permission to live your life, do the things you're inspired by. That's what's attracting invitations in as well. So I think it's some lovely modalities that complement each other there in their understanding.
Yeah, yeah, we're a fan of David Hawkins' scale of consciousness, which
Okay.
the energies of levels speak to that same
Uh-huh.
idea, similar
Yeah, there's a
idea.
few of them, isn't there? A few of them
Yeah, there are a
explaining.
few, and yeah, mixing modalities is definitely
Yeah.
helpful to get a bigger picture of everything.
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
do you work ever with parents of projectors? I'm wondering.
I have done, yes. It's mainly projectors with kids who are either projectors or generators or manifestors, but yes, and it can be really helpful for parents. And when we've recorded resources and things, I try to speak about it in a way that if someone had a projector child, that they could listen as a generator and understand their child with much more ease. Because obviously the information is meant to get there as early as possible, because we're also individuated and we're just getting more and more conditioned as we move through life. So it could be really helpful to understand.
Yeah, for yourself, like if you imagine having this information when you were a child,
Game
like
changer.
yeah, like how do you think what would have been like the most helpful thing
Oh my
if you
goodness.
look
My
back
mum
at
used
your
to
life?
call me a variation of you're an alien or you're a robot. It was this kind of thing like this. Also, this narrative of I'm 30 years older than you, but why are you so tired? I was like, I don't know. The amount of doctor's appointments that I went to for blood tests, and I was fine every single time. Like, I think it would have just helped because, as the only projector in my family, which is not an uncommon thing to have, a lot of projectors in their families alone as a projector, we could
Yeah,
be
same
really
with me.
misunderstood. Yeah, that's it. I think the only person that is a projector in my family is my nan, and she always speaks about how similar we are. And I'm like, more than you realize. I've tried to tell her she's not not receptive. She listens, but she just kind of nods along, like, yes, projectors. She's not very into it, but there's more similarities there. So I think it would have helped my parents to understand, especially as well, my mum being super spiritual, trying to teach me to listen to my gut. And I was like, this isn't working. This isn't working. So not only was I not understood as a kind of human, it was not understood on a spiritual level either. Like, what do you mean? You're my daughter. Why aren't you psychic? And why aren't you intuitive? And I'm like, in my own way, I am actually. So now there's much more understanding from family and much more ease for myself. Therefore, I don't look to my family for reassurance about self anymore, or why am I so different, or I've got to keep up with them. Now it's more of a don't even need to ask you. I'm confident in who I am. And yeah, I'm not a robot and I'm not an alien. It's just I'm different. I'm not a generator. I'm one of the 1% to 2%.
Yeah,
You're not going to get it.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
okay.
Feels alien. And my mom definitely had the alien thing. I remember her one time. She's like, I wouldn't be so surprised if like a spaceship just came to the backyard one day and like called you home.
Yeah, literally. And I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, am I that different? She's like, I don't know how
yeah,
you came from me. I'm like, really? Thank you.
yeah. That's so funny. Yeah. When you look ahead, and to feel into like what's emerging as we move into this, new ways of being. It's 2027. We're already feeling it. Everyone can feel the shift. How do you see how humans will lead or relate and create? We sort of talked about it with the metaphor of the band and everything, but yeah, like we're trying to figure out the language and coming into community and finding community. And I know your work with the projector movement, and maybe you have other communities. Like, what are you finding is like an edge, or maybe some challenges, or maybe some beauty in connecting in these ways as we're all trying to figure out what
Yeah.
life is about now?
Yeah, I think we need to lean on like-minded people, not lean as in be dependent on them, but where we're getting very individuated, there might not be one group that is helping all of you. Like it might be different areas. Like you might be exploring spirituality and you need a spiritual group. You might be exploring this other element, but we're very multifaceted. I think that's going to be more common. We've seen that kind of happen even outside of human design. I think a lot of us wouldn't even allow ourselves to go into so many categories, and we would just fit into the tribal box of whatever we were here to be and to fit into the family. And now it's more encouraged, living alone. There's a lot more kind of loneliness and alone time in the world, I would say, especially because the businesses that have been created are enabling this with like buying your food online and things like that. So we're not having the day-to-day interactions. It's going to be interesting moving forward to see how that all happens. I think the prediction is there's all these systems that are going to start crumbling, so we have to rely on ourselves a little bit more. So maybe connecting with some of the older things. Like I've loved getting into sourdough this year, and I feel like
I did
traditions
too.
like that are going to be really important.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, I
That's
feel
so
like
funny.
there is this kind of shift where people are feeling into, I think I need to connect to what my grandparents did. And that hasn't been there for many decades. Before it was like, nah, you're just too old, you're not with the times. But the fact that so many of us are leaning into those things, I think that might be part of what's to come as well. Connecting and being nostalgic and creating communities, even in your independence and alone time, and respect for difference. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I agree. I see the same thing. And I love the idea of connecting in with different communities, like allowing the mind to be more open to try something you might never have seen yourself doing before.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the opposite of what social media is doing for people. Like it puts us in these silos and only shows us like a part of the world. And
Yes.
yeah. What do you see with like social media? Do you have any like insights around social media with AI and stuff? I'd love to hear you share whatever.
I mean, in general, human design speaks about, and maybe I'll do my perspective as well, but in general, human design speaks about how social media and the internet are going to become way less important, especially in the next 80 years. It speaks about how it's just not even going to exist because we just won't care about it. I think I can already start seeing some of this show up, right? Before it was like the place to go. And I think we're getting all a little bit sick with it, because it's turned into constant selling on social media as well. It's not authentic, or it's overly authentic, which makes it inauthentic. It's like, what is happening? We're kind of trying to be authentic, but it's being overly like, you don't have to say some of these things. I don't know. And freedom of speech is great and things, but you don't need to say some of this stuff sometimes. So I think it's shifting. I think it's changing. And I think even the shift within myself has been like, do I want to even put this out there? There's kind of been more of a pull to be offline. I think that's becoming a thing. And again, connecting back with those like actual earthy rituals and routines and things is becoming more important. So I think it's had its time. I think especially with AI, you don't know what you're watching. You don't know if you're watching something real or not. And sometimes I don't mind because I'm like, this was just funny, so I don't mind if it's AI or not. But other times it's really concerning and you can't believe what you're witnessing anymore. And I think that's also what's going to lead to this kind of distrust of social media. Is before we were going, is this person really living that lifestyle? Are they faking it? Are they not paying tax? But now it's like, is that even real? And it's going to get to the point where we're like, no, we don't need this because we can't figure it out.
Yeah, can't figure it out. It's too much. It's just too much. Yeah, I see the same thing more. I have that within myself sometimes as well. Like, and I went through a period where I just was like nothing for, months at a time. And yeah, part of why with Flow Network, part of the vision was seeing that even before AI was just, authenticity and what people are talking about. How do I be authentic online? And it's like, well, how are you authentic in your real life? Like that's ultimately what I think the AI is accelerating that for us as a collective of like, where do we want to spend our time? Like making sourdough or putting out 4 posts a day and putting it into the void and hoping it does something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I
and
think it's helping us connect with the human nature, right? Because we're starting to see, okay, we aren't our jobs. We aren't, my job in the past has been like copywriting, like writing for like communication strategy. That's gonna not be existent in a while, still look at building websites of people when people are submitting things that are written by AI. And there's, it's almost like, how do we make this more human? We can sense it. It's like, so connecting with our humanness is going to be something as well, because we're going to get a little bit sick of that, I think.
yeah, I think so too. Yeah, so my sort of vision for this platform, and I'm doing the whole flow thing, letting it unfold. Maybe it's, you know, it's will be something other than what I'm visioning, but the idea is that it's just a small, tight knit group of people that feel a flow to connect and share our diverse perspectives of the world and just speak about this messy middle straddling of the worlds, navigating and offering our perspective, but just talking about it and giving
Yes.
some language. And because I think, in like you were saying, in our aloneness, because more and more people are spending time alone, like how do people find their fractal? Like how do people
Yeah.
see, like, okay, is there a new world emerging, or is the whole thing just kind of going down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was interesting because there was a point in life where everyone was like awakening to themselves, like, hang on, why am I here? And I think there's now this like mass awakening of people going, wait, am I this alone? How do I even meet someone? Like, how do I meet my friends without the internet? Right? Because there's still Facebook groups. I've met new friends through Facebook groups and stuff like that. But I did see the other day, and again, this is a social media based thing because there's less, unless you're working in the city, which I don't do. I'm on the kind of outskirts of society a little bit because I work online. Saw someone on social media saying, okay, I'm down to like get rid of social media, but like, where are we meeting?
Yeah.
And before there was like a dance hall or something, you'd go to
Yes.
the pub or whatever it is in the UK. But now it's like, where are we meeting, guys? Where should I, or the park? But there isn't this anymore. So I think there's this
Yes.
awakening to, I don't even know. I think, like, for example, at university or whatever, there was always this kind of social event calendar that doesn't really, there's so many things that you could potentially be doing. So I think there is this kind of new trend, new awakening to, wait, how do we connect outside of this? If this went down, what do we do? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. What else do you see sort of emerging in this realm of yeah, people just looking to create something new? Or like you said, you're on the outskirts and you're kind of online yourself, but
Yeah.
are you seeing anything, or with the people you're talking to?
Definitely more. We spoke, I don't know if it was on the recording or not, but we spoke about how like new communities are being created. I think we did speak a bit on here, but it was like how communities are becoming important, how we're moving to a time of communities that support different elements. And I think there are more and more of these kind of micro communities or niche communities showing up. And it's almost like they're all kind of welcomed in their own little ways. And even, I think if you look at human design, the solar plexus, the newest authority, things like this, where we're still learning about emotions. And I feel, oh, I don't want to gender type this, but we have the difference between women expressing their emotions, and we know that men in general don't express them as much. There's way more groups of men coming together now, and I think that's beautiful. I think there's a lot more people kind of saying, well, maybe we should create a little community around this. Like maybe we should make this more official. Maybe we could just gather some dads together. There's a lovely group in London that I can't remember what it's called, but it's about dads coming together to learn about their daughters, basically how to do ponytails. They all have these
Oh,
mannequin heads and they're doing their daughter, well, not their actual daughter. They're having, it's like beer, is it pints and ponytails or something? It's like,
that's
it's
amazing.
cool. I think this stuff didn't exist before. And now we have these communities coming
Yeah.
together and it's really acceptable. And I think that's how people are going to start finding more meaning and more connection, especially in big cities and stuff, especially like London and I'm sure a lot of cities around the US as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it is beautiful. Yeah, it's like all the different types of flowers that exist in the world. I'm just seeing. It's like we're going to be watching humans and communities like flower in ways that are just going to dazzle us, because that's just what the energy is wanting from us humans right now, is to
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's this, because there's this big energy shift going on, there's that talk around how projectors are here to help kind of help us settle into the waves of this.
Mm,
Because if you imagine the energy shifts and if everything just disappeared, chaos, absolute chaos. And that's not really going to happen because we're more of a continuous species where we kind of go, we've got this nostalgia. We still want the ice cream being sold. We still want the supermarkets or whatever it is. But I think there is this kind of moment where we're trying to settle the waves. And I think part of that is these communities. Part of it is kind of
mm,
figuring it out and seeing what is important enough to help ride the wave of this, or
mm.
what can we just get rid of that didn't serve us. But
Oh,
I think that's
nice.
where the individualism and the little micro groups, maybe the big companies can't withstand it, but the little micro companies might be able to. And I think that's quite nice from a nostalgic point of view, where we go back to perhaps some smaller shops, community places, getting to know your neighbour. I think that's probably coming back in as well. Just
Hmm.
trend. Yeah.
I agree. I feel the same. It's a part of why Tim and I ended up moving where we live now, a little bit away from the city, and we're in this spot that's like farm markets and artists, and I see that definitely being the trend as well.
Hmm.
Um, I'm wondering if you want to share a personal, like, where in your life are you feeling a stretch, or are you being stretched, like, and invited to trust something even deeper?
I think within my world, I think the challenge at the moment is how far online everything has got, especially in my world. I find that there is, even for myself, this pull back into a community of some kind,
Mm,
finding a place that resonates a little bit more. And I think that involves some experimentation for myself. So there has been these little road trips trying to figure it out and not forcing it, but just being able to feel it and go, that doesn't necessarily
mm,
fit. And also putting feelers out for, okay, where do I want to be? And actually integrating more into communities rather than being so separate, because it is very alone when you are working online. I think a lot of people kind of did that and have worked from home and things like that. And I find for myself, that's definitely a pull back into community in some way, whether it's volunteering, whether it's finding new groups and things. So I think the things that we brought up today have been resonant of things that
mm.
I'm experiencing. I think there was a lovely conversation. I think the thought is forming as I'm speaking, so I wonder where this is going to go. But there was a lovely conversation about how projectors have been trying to find purpose in things, and I think we can get really focused on purpose, and I think we lose the
Mm,
element of play. So when I work with some projectors at the moment, and it's like I really want to create this business, and I'm like, yeah, we can do this, we can work on that, we can create strategies and sales and stuff, and I'm all for like empowerment of entrepreneurs and things, but I think we forget the play element of, but what lifestyle do you want? What if you didn't have this? And we could talk about money and stuff, but when you actually come into society, what's missing? I know for myself, the answer would be community. So alongside the online stuff and the entrepreneurship and trusting in the flow, it's like, can I put feelers out to allow myself to settle into some type of community now and
mm,
connect it a little bit deeper? So that's the kind of main thing, not
mm.
losing the play.
Yeah, so true.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I so got caught up in the purpose thing. Like every day, like my mind would just, as a mental projector, my mind's going all the time. I remember going for walks and being like, I know I'm here for something. What's my purpose? What's my purpose?
Yeah.
And getting the message came in like, make videos. And I was like,
Mhm.
how is that purpose? But at the time, it was my play. And like giving myself permission has been this funny journey to be like, okay, I actually really like social media. I like, there's things I don't like about it, but I like playing with video and
Yeah.
creating content with people. And yeah, I think play is we have 5 keys on Flow Network, 5 navigation keys for flow, and play is one of them.
Yeah, and I think purpose is an interesting thing because I've had to deal with a lot of like thousands of people at this point come to me and say, I'm here for a reading, I want to know my
Mm-hmm.
purpose is.
Mm-hmm.
And human design gives us clues about that, but my understanding of why we're here and what purpose is has shifted majorly from thinking, okay, we're here for a job, we're here to guide. Yes, yes, that happens, but it's kind of unintentional a lot of the time. So part of me is like playing with the idea that purpose just happens. Like you can't help but fulfill your purpose because you are going to speak about the things that you're interested in. if you look at the incarnation cross, it's a deep part of the chart. You're an incarnation of these 4 points. You can't help that. But whether you work at McDonald's, whether you work for the government, whatever you're going to be doing, you're still fulfilling your purpose, and you can't help but mechanically fulfill that. So the idea of needing to find purpose and getting a job that reflects self, I think, is quite an interesting notion. So we could perhaps play in a job that you're just enjoying. And I think it's been like, what? You can enjoy your job and like not have a purpose? Well, yeah, because when you talk with the customers, you are fulfilling purpose. When you talk to clients, you're fulfilling purpose. And I think especially when people come to human design and projectors, we get really caught up in that, but I need to fulfill my purpose. And it mostly happens, especially post, well, 30 is the first shift, 44 being the Uranus opposition second shift. That's a big kind of midlife point where you're like, what am I here to do? And 50 onwards, which is your shadow period, your Chiron returns. And that's when people really go, I haven't got any more time. I have to fulfill purpose. And I just don't see purpose in the same way anymore. I think it's you fulfill your purpose in every role, every experience that you are in. So why don't we do something enjoyable and fulfill purpose within that, or within the current roles, which you might not even enjoy, because alignment doesn't mean enjoyment necessarily. It's not going to always take you to the best place according to human design, but it's still you're fulfilling purpose in each interaction. So I think we could be a little bit less hard on ourselves.
Totally. I agree completely. I've had the same journey. And I love what Richard Rudd of the Gene Key says about purpose, because there's literally a purpose sphere. And he speaks about it's not about what we do, but it's our quality of our consciousness. So that loops back to like the energy levels and like the quality of our consciousness being curious and playful, and as long as we're in that vibration, we are, like you said, fulfilling our purpose.
Yeah.
And that takes pressure off like crazy, just to say, oh, it's not something I have to figure out and like map out and plan for. And
and I think that's why it gets kind of misinterpreted when people say do less and you'll figure it out. People are like, I don't understand, because it doesn't really translate to people that haven't been on that kind of experience. But when you get to that part, once you stop being so stressed out and stop being so pushy in life, it kind of opens you up to really listen and to really be present on the experience and things like that. So you end up unintentionally living what you're meant to be living, because you're actually aware and you're able to take it in and not take it personally and not get defensive. So you can have better quality conversations and interactions, which you wouldn't have if you were filled to the rim of stuff that isn't yours to even deal with in the first place.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah,
like,
some of these things aren't for you.
No. Yeah, we're all experimenting and exploring. And I wanted to circle back what you were saying about like projectors raw in human design, the idea like projectors are here to sort of guide people through the waves of this new world. Why do you think that what the qualities of the projector have, and like their life experience, even of not most of us didn't know we were projectors because this information is new, and even projectors are new. And the life experience that we've had that is challenging for, I mean, it's been challenging for all humans, let's face it. But why do you think, what is it about projectors that will be able to help people guide them through these waves?
So mechanically it's because of the aura. So the aura is very mechanical in human design, so it's that focus and absorbing aura. It penetrates in, you're going to see so much about that person. So essentially that translates as you're really intuitive about people. And yes, you can have really intuitive generators as well, but there is a difference in terms of generators can see it, can feel it, especially if they hone in, psychic mediums and stuff. But projectors, there's not anything getting in the way of you seeing that person. You actually see that person more deeply than you see yourself. And actually you understand yourself through your interactions with those other people you start speaking to. And it's because of that almost like opposite approach. Most people being generators have this approach of, if I know myself better, I'll be more satisfied. Projectors is if you know the other better, if you know other people, if you know how people operate, if you understand through the lens of all these different systems, whether it's law, finance, nutrition, surfing, doesn't matter what it is, but if you can understand human beings, you start realizing to take things less personally. You start being able to really see the differences so you can guide the energy. So it's our very makeup. It's not something we are conditioned or we learn. It's almost the nature of us. We can't help but see people. We can't help but preempt things and have this kind of inner information about, well, it can help guide this person. We just have to know when it's best placed to give that information. So it's just in our very makeup. Projectors being the newest type came in during, or at least were noticed during the evolutionary period that we just came from. It's just like we were kind of evolved into these projectors, not us, but people evolved as human beings. Now projectors are here to help us with that next shift. And that's kind of just how it mechanically is. We need people to help guide that wave that's coming, and it's already here.
Mm-hmm. The waves of change.
Yeah.
And there's new children being born as well now or in 2027, right?
Yeah.
That'll carry through the next thing. What is your feeling about that, or what have you contemplated on your own?
Yeah. These are all really timely conversations. I've literally been having these conversations more and more so this week and last week, and I think my view on it is I want to wait and see what happens in general, because I think a healthy level of skepticism around human design and all modalities is really important. So I don't know. But from a human design perspective, yeah, these new beings that are being born, and we talk about transits, we talk about astrology, we talk about the system of the planets and things like that. According to human design, it's no longer interested in us. It's interested in these new beings, which are going to seem very different. We might not understand them. We might think, from a human design perspective, we might think that they're like autistic or just not right. We don't know what's wrong with them, this type of thing. They're spoken about as these like non-verbal, squidgy, misunderstood beings that are pretty defenseless on their own, but really need to be in a group of five. So I think, as they're being born, there might be this, according to human design, this notice of this child's different. This baby looks a bit different. They are a bit squidgier. I don't know what that's about, but apparently they're squidgier. And they might not be speaking or developing at the same level as other babies. And I think we'll only start really noticing it once the personalities start coming out and once schools start realizing maybe there's a difference. Or it might not happen at all, because we need that healthy level of skepticism. But yes, there's a theory of they're just very, very different beings than ourselves. And not all babies will be like that. It's just certain babies.
I think what's coming to me as you're speaking about it is just maybe, again, the world, our reality, evolution mirrors to us about who we are and where life is flowing. And we traditionally haven't really looked to our children to teach us, like, as a part of our environment, like, oh, what do they need? Like, who are these beings, and what do we need, and how do we need to change who we're being or how society works in order to nurture the next generations coming through. So I wonder, just from an evolutionary conversation and high level, like, yeah, just listening to our children, learning from our children. And I think the education system is definitely, I speak to a lot of people looking to change the education system, and I think more and more parents are looking for that as well. And maybe these children will help sort of push things in that direction too.
There might be. It's an interesting way of looking at it. I don't think I've heard that perspective of education systems and how it's going to kind of affect it. And I think you're right if this theory is right, and if these new beings, babies, then it's a completely different way of approaching it. This kind of non-verbal, and we see this theory that the right mind is coming in more than the left mind. So we've been in this very strategic world for the past 400 years. Now we're in a very receptive world post 2027. So, people that have the right mind are a little bit more kind of dyslexic and don't take in the information as the same way. So we're moving to a time where it's more based on stories rather than facts, and more creativity rather than structures and conforming. So I think we'll start to see more and more shifts as energy changes, and the energy is already kind of getting towards there. So that's why we might be seeing these kind of shifts between what we're seeing now and what it used to be. So I think the education system will be a really interesting thing to watch, and how rapidly it might change. Yeah.
I just saw a video of someone on Instagram who's a projector speak about projector children, and like putting them through the typical education system is pretty much like torture, torture for them. And I really resonated with what he had to say. So, I mean, even for projectors, like, let alone the new beings coming in, I think would benefit from changes as well. So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely an
Interesting.
area to look at and watch
Yeah.
and even be involved in. I'm sure there'll be some unintentional projectors in there that are like, I'm recognizing that these people are different. I'm recognizing that this isn't going to work. And
Yeah.
maybe it's not the system, maybe it's not them, maybe it's the system. So that would be a really interesting area to watch.
It will. It will, definitely. Well, we've reached an hour in our conversation,
Oh, how
and
beautiful.
yeah, it was very beautiful. For whatever reason, I have this question of like, what question do you not get asked that you think would be? Do you have any question that pops into your head about that?
I feel
Because
like when you get asked like a not a negative question, but like a negative,
yeah,
like, what
yeah.
do you not get? I'm
What
like,
do you
what do
mean
I
not?
not get? I don't know.
It's like I'm only not getting the not getting part.
Yeah. What do I not get
Like,
asked?
is there anything going on in your life that, because you probably talk a lot about human design stuff, like you were saying, have a lot of the same conversations recently, and
Yeah.
I mean, we're all connected, so this is just in the air, and I'm not surprised that we're all speaking about the same thing. But is there anything going on in your life or that you're contemplating that no one is really asking you about?
I just think the only conversation that really was different recently, which I was a bit like, hang on a minute, this is a new perspective. Um, I mean, part of it was human design related in the sense that there are obviously a group of people that have been on the human design experiment. They're now financially stable. Doesn't mean we're rich, but we're kind of financially stable. We're in a position where we've done our experiment for a while. We've not done our experiment. We've done both sides. And I think there's an interesting part where I think there's need for more conversations in that space. I think there are lots of conversations in human design about theory and a lot of conversations in human design about the basics. And I think we're missing that conversation about, okay, well, what now? What about this play element? That came up recently. And again, this element of people are so focused on purpose that we're not focusing on play. I know I brought this up already, but that's what's coming to
It's
mind. That
important,
was
yeah.
that conversation. I think we're missing the point slightly on what this is all for and living life. And I think that was surprising when we had that conversation literally this week. I was like, yeah, it was joyful for me to get a different style of question. And it wasn't so much, it was about purpose, but then it was much more important to speak about, hang on, but what about these elements that we've kind of forgotten about? And that was really interesting to me.
I love that so much because I've had the same awareness about sort of a gap in, at least in the online space of whether it's human design or spirituality or the awakening. It's like there's that first part where you realize like there's something to wake
Yeah.
up to, or human design language would be like, oh, I have to decondition, and that's what they call the experiment, right? Is
Yeah.
experiment with who I'm not, who I am. Then when you have a clear understanding of like, okay, I know who I am. I reclaimed my gifts. I'm ready to play. Like, let's go. And that for me is what Flow Network is touching on, is like,
Yeah.
okay, so here we are. Let's how does this work now? Like, let's do, like, what's the action? The
Yeah.
action in going forward and building these communities and these new worlds, and having the conversation about, okay, where do we go? What do we do? But the thing is, it's not the planning anymore. Like, our conditioning has been, well, we make a plan and we
Yes.
put out the
Cross the planning
steps.
is going, this type
cross
of thing.
yeah, cross the planning is going. So it's literally like, for me, as the word flow is, okay, we make decisions in the moment. If the flow is there, then we're being led by the void, like by that yin quality, like you were speaking to, of the creativity. And again, let's like circle back to the musicians playing. It's
Yeah.
like they don't know when you're playing jazz, there's no sheet of music. It's
Yep.
just letting the music play you. And
Yeah.
so we're over here at Flow Network, we're just kind of documenting the evolution of that, and
Yeah.
speaking about it. And I love that you brought that question in, and I'm
Yeah.
curious what the person said in your conversation. Like, did they have a similar
they were like
perspective?
they were like please, I need to find a community like this, let's like create one, because the thing is, I think if you think about it, like there's so many of us, or in the spiritual trend, that awakened, if we want to call it that. It's like, okay, now what? Like you can't continue awakening once you are aware, fine, and it's not better or worse, it's just how it is. And it's like you're in this space, and the only spaces at the moment that I'm aware of are the ones that are either helping people get to that point of waking up, or like making more money or doing more things and expanding in that sense. But there are very few that I'm aware of. It's lovely that you're kind of curating this as well. It's like groups where you're in that. And that's kind of the conclusion that we came to within our conversation of, you know what, that actually feels really expansive. It's just being able to be in that space with people that are like-minded, and there aren't very many groups that allow those like-minded in. We don't need to promise growth. You're just promising, not promising, but connection, and having those really interesting conversations. Like, okay, we're aware,
Yeah,
we're awake, we're listening, but
yeah,
where are you at? Because we've done it alone, but where is everyone now?
yeah,
And not the beginners. That's fine, but where are the people that have been experimenting? And
yeah,
that's a really interesting conversation. I think a lot
yeah.
comes out of that.
Yeah, I think what I'm sensing is because Tim and I talk about this all the time, and he wanted to pop his head in and say
I
hi.
know. I want him to.
Yeah, let's do another conversation with him and
Yeah.
carry on this. Like, I think there's been so many people deconditioning, and they're looking for people, and let's kind of talk about that. And maybe it's about planting seeds and just, I mean, it's about flow. Like we're just, it's like the gardener just pouring some water,
Yeah, it's like the
sunlight.
continuation, isn't it? Because I think a lot of people that have been doing self-help and self-development and spiritual awakening and things have gone, yeah, I'm now reading like fiction because I don't want to keep reading self-development, because and there's still
Exactly.
progress, but we've kind of done it, and it's like, how much can we work on ourselves? Yes, have the element of self-awareness consistently and throughout, but there can't be more work all the time. There's something else going on here.
I
And there's
totally
one
agree.
thing, I think we're all very used to playing before awareness, and now we've woken up, if we want to use these words, and now we're here, and it's like, well, surely there's play here too. Like we don't have to constantly self-analyze and constantly read the
Yes,
books and do more qualification. What about if we enjoy ourselves here? But what does that look like? Because it hasn't been modeled
yes,
before. That's
exactly.
interesting because it hasn't been modeled before, not even by grandparents or whatever, because
Exactly.
they were in the conditioned state of the tribe and not having the actual space to do so. If we look at women not being allowed bank accounts and things like that, but now we have this. Well, how do we play? What do we do? What's that look like? What's safety look like? What's it look like playing the rules of the game, but also no longer developing constantly, but actually sitting in
Yes.
and enjoying what we've done over the past decade, for example.
Exactly that. That's exactly the same conversations that Tim and I have been having, and like listening to the self-help and the development and all that, and it only after a while it's like, okay, well, I get that. I'm done with that, and that used to be fun because I was trying to figure life out, and now it's just trusting the unfolding and playing and being part of that. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's very
Even Yeah, I mean, even with the human design stuff, I was having a conversation with someone a couple of weeks ago, and they said, as a human design expert, you're the least human design person that I know. And I would turn up to in-person human design groups, and they're like, you're the least interested in it. I'm like, well, yes, because I've done it. Like, I've experimented with it. I use it as scaffolding. If someone asks me about it, I can tell them about it. But in my actual living life, because it's been a while now, that's when you have to carry on living, And I don't run people's charts in my life every day because I want to just live. So it's
yes.
unexpected. I think I don't think people expect that from me. I think they expect me to run everyone's charts and just nerd out over it, but it's not like that.
No.
It's not at this point.
No, I'm seeing the rocket ship that I've heard you speak about, and Ra said like the
Yeah.
mental projectors are the ones sort of making sure the rocket ship's going in the same direction.
Yeah.
And
Watching the
so
guide.
watching, I would
Yeah.
love to just plant the seed for our next
Yeah.
conversation because what I think you're speaking to is the vision. It's a vision of what does play look like and what does it look
Yeah.
like now in this new world. Like
Yeah.
we're creating this, we're co-creating this together
Yeah.
and as a community. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's an
beautiful.
interesting chat for two mental projectors as well, because we're witnessing how some people are trying to play, and it's like, are we going in the right direction with play? Are we going in the right direction with these communities? What are we seeing? So that's an interesting conversation.
That is an interesting conversation, and probably I'll now, because we've put a point on that. I'm going to have my contemplative
Yeah, me
eyes.
too.
I'm going to Bali in a week,
Uh-huh.
and for a Spirit Fest,
Uh-huh.
and so it'll be interesting. I'll go and kind of put my eyes on the culture over there, and then
Yeah.
spring is emerging here in Canada, and then we can share field notes.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a bit of not I know we're not reflectors, but sampling. We have to feel into it. We're gonna have to have a
Yeah.
little look around, and it's interesting how these new seeds have been planted, especially after winter, because winter's been quite cocoony.
Yes.
And,
Me too. Me
I think there's been
too.
a lot of change, and as soon as we go back out into the world, it's like, what's happening out here?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
getting into the weeds of it and actually feeling it
Yeah.
rather than theorizing it in our minds.
Yeah, like you said, your intention is to go and find community. So let's plant that seed for taking our field notes and then coming back together and
Agreed.
sharing.
Agreed.
Awesome. Fun. And then we'll bring Tim in too, so we have some other we have a sacral energy with
Yeah.
us.
Some other energy would be really cool as well, huh?
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good.
Well, thank you so much, Rebecca. It was
You're more than
just
welcome. It's been a joy.
it was lovely to connect with you, and because yeah, we've known each other for a few years now.
Yeah, and it's been a while since we've had a conversation and
Yeah,
things, so I
yeah.
feel like it's
I don't.
developed really nicely.
Yeah, yeah. It was really beautiful. So thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll see you
Thank
in the
you.
next video.
Yeah.